Hey everyone! If you're looking to find out how to know which is the right brokerage for you, specifically mortgage brokers, then this is the episode for you. We're going to be going behind the scenes, and our guest speaker, Jaydeep Patel, he's going to be sharing his insights into what made him change to a different brokerage. My name is Diana Lizarazo, and I'm excited to have you guys on and to have Jaydeep on. Now, before we get started, I want to share some exciting news with you. I have a social networking platform for the real estate investing industry. So if you want to be around like-minded people, you want to be with people that, we want to get out of those environments where people are judging you, where there's lots of fear and no one's helping you with that, then you want to be a part of a platform that does support you, that does help you out, help with solutions, help with finding those like-minded people, then you want to be a part of this platform. It is REI FAM, and it's realestateinvestorfam.com. It's free to join, be around like-minded people, and help them motivate you, take action, and they'll help you take action too. Back to the show. So let's see if we can get Jaydeep on. I think he's there. Is he there? Did he come? Did he disappear? Show like that, right behind the scenes. You're gonna get to see behind the look on Jaydeep. Hey, oh,
Oh,
we're seeing a scene, I think.
all right.
There we
There we
go.
go.
Hey, so
Can you
just
hear me?
telling the viewers that we're gonna get to have some behind the scenes on what made you decide to make the choices that you got to where you are now. So before
Well,
we
it
get
just,
started, let's
yep.
just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and just what your investing strategy, where you're as an investor, how you've been doing as a mortgage broker. So anything you'd like to share, your experience, whatever you'd like to share.
So, thank you once again, Diana, for the opportunity. Well, I've been a mortgage agent since 2022 in March, I became one, right? And then my transition has been towards like learning about the people's struggle, that what they are going through. So during that time, it was crazy enough that cost of borrowing was very low. People had buying properties left, right, and center. That time I was just speculating because I'd seen people on $50,000 annual income being qualified for $1 million property. I was like, insane. Is this what, like the Big Short, like, or movie going on, or what? That is live, right? So that's what I prefer to like going through the transition of like going in person events, right? Because as we say, and we learned that proximity is the power, because
Mhm.
when we meet people at the events, it gives them the social proof that yes, they do exist. They are definitely out there making their commitments count, each and every interaction count, and to know about like what their goals and ambitions are,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what I had learned, and I got towards connecting, networking with them, and been going through events, and yeah.
I love that. And that's something that I have gotten to know about you is that you really understand the power of networking. And love how you learn so much from networking. Because, like you said, if you have these conversations with people who have actually done things, like that, we stop ourselves and put these barriers because we're just like, that's not possible. But when you see people doing it, when you get to hear it and understand, how they do things, then it's just like the world opens up so much more.
Yes, absolutely. Because you never know what which doors are gonna get opened, right? It's just
Mhm.
that when we all are going through that same journey of like making money, because that is what something that we all, it's a birthright. It's not a sin. Some people do consider that. that nah, I'm not gonna be like doing anything. Or some people are satisfied enough and seeing like people who would be like, I don't have to do anything. And that's when we like, okay, well, that's what like I would not want to become that because one thing I learned in Canada, like I've been an immigrant, but immigrant in a sense I came here as an international student, did my long hours and like those and where we didn't had any vision to look for because we can only plan to what we can vision or plan we can see. When we don't have any future that we are about to see, that's when we'll be like, okay. And that's when these transitions that happen in life, it definitely taught me that, hey, you know what? It's all about that more you learn your skills because that's what the more you would be able to contribute. It's not about like I come from India where it's all about state banking where it was before, but and over here when I came, it's Federal Reserve. It's a reserve banking. When the currency is not backed by gold, guess what? It is backed by people, and people will be paying the federal debt that we see. And that's when we contribute more, that's when we can always expect more contribution towards other people's journey and towards our own self as well. So even helping people in that same entrepreneurial pursuit, it also benefits us because it makes that trust, and that's where it all begins, from the trust.
Completely makes sense. And even actually, so curious to hear because this is what we're going to be talking about. So you picked your first brokerage. So I'd be curious to hear that, what were your decisions in making your choices for that, your first brokerage? Because I think basically, I think it's so something that happens with lots of people is when you're new into things, you also don't really know what to look for, I think, in a brokerage or what is important to you, like all these things. So I'm curious, like, what was getting into your very first brokerage? What was your actual like thought process with this? And then like that, then we could go into what did you learn along the way, and then now that you've chosen a different one, what made you move to that? So let's start with the first one.
So with the first question, we never stick to our first. So that's when like when I thought towards like when I was new, that's when I thought like, you know what, with this brokerage, I don't have to provide any references in the past. Like I don't have any experience. And that is when I got towards that, hey, you know what? He's from India. I'm from India. We can connect as an Indians and all. Like, you know what I mean? And that's when I would be like, I got started with the brokerage, right? But then eventually when I felt like, you know what? I need to be in the context of like people who are I'm able to reach, people from whom I'm like discuss deals, or people who are like, you know, like able to accept my call, like get towards answering the calls within like 24 hours. Because we live in the three-dimensional aspect of like social media and like we are always stuck on our phone. If sometimes we don't get an answer for like, I'm not talking about weekends, but weekdays, if we cannot get an answer for like more than 2 days, that's when it would be like, okay, you know what? This is not a place that I can be long term. And that's where the transition that I had to think forward, that when like that first brokerage, it helped me get connected to my mentor, my team leader, and she had taught me a lot. And once she left to start her own brokerage, I knew that she was starting, like she was starting her transitioning to a newer brokerage. But then when I came to know, I'd be like, okay, how can I be in your team, right? Because whatever I learned, and because when you see your leaders are reachable, are they care about their team members. That's where the team leader that you want to be around them, because it really helps you to follow them, right? Because it's not about what leader says that followers will do. It's all about what leader does is what follower will follow to do that. It's not going to be what he says they're going to do, right? So,
So those are great points actually that I just wanted to quickly highlight. Because like that, if you like you're saying, one of them is especially like you said, you had just got your license, so you need that support system. Nothing, not like another person who has many years of experience and probably already know how to do everything. So maybe getting like if a person of that went in, they'd be fine because it's their own thing they're doing and they don't need that support system. So I think that's a great point. People who are picking brokerages is making sure that you find your support system. And it sounds like you actually did have that and they moved. So probably, I think the next thing is probably asking those questions to get to know what are their goals, what are their plans, so that you can make sure that, oh, for example, let's say, oh, they're leaving in a couple of months. Okay, maybe I should wait to see what they're going to do if you really like them or whatever. Like, then you start, like, then you can make better decisions for yourself. So I feel like it sounds like getting to know your mentor, who is going to guide you on what their future plans are. So you can decide, am I going to stay here for a year because they're going to be for a year, or are they planning to move into, let's say, even something like commercial and you're only interested in residential. So getting to know your mentor and the path that they're going to is probably very important.
yes, absolutely. Because the reason is that even the of like switching the brokerages, the reason behind that is not only just the team leader herself, but the entire learning system that I was going to get with that, like a proper system, whether it be like getting towards like my marketing done, or like getting a proper CRM to like every day to send the messages, not like just about, but even like mortgage updates or like real estate investing scenario, or even like this, right? If because it helps towards like building that traction with people that yes, this is what like he's doing, and with any updates that I can at least like send them the message that hey, we have this update and I'm gonna hop on Zoom call and would like to answer your questions, right? Especially networking is when I learned that never ask a business at a networking event.
Never
So
what?
never ask business at that networking event. It's all about the connection. Nobody's gonna get you that, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, let's do deal. No, that's just like the amateurs play. But then eventually, when you actually get connected, like I've spoken with investors who had been doing like good figure returns, and they are always seeking out investments because wealthy people, they have their money and they want to park their money to somewhere that is going to get them higher rate of return, but more importantly they're going to only interact and trust the person who never asks business. It's all about like that learning that hey, you know what, if let's say if I have to start like a certain business, and if I would be looking for funding, let's say a real multifamily acquisition, right? It's not like with every person whom we get, hey, come on, man, you gotta do this deal. It's gonna no, but they gotta have their own set that hey, you know what? I have interacted with many these kind of interaction. What's the play? What's the sauce? What's the equity that I'm gonna get? It's not just regular equity. It's always like a proper deal that the deal that benefits before even it's been funded proper, because it's all about the price, right? That at what discount that you get. So when it comes to these kind of an entire play, it's not about the person who is desperate and needy would be getting anything. It's all about like maintaining your intake that, you know what? Thank you for the opportunity, sir. If I'm not gonna get, your interest, I'll be fine. I'll still. But let me just make a quick feedback. Like, what made you tick off, right? It's just like asking those kind of feedbacks that really helps us understand that how we can navigate, how we can understand, and how we
Learn
can
about ourselves. Because what
learn about.
mistakes
Yeah,
we're making. Because a lot of us, it's true, we don't ask those kind of questions, right? And a lot of us don't even like to hear about it, like just ignore it and move on. But it's like if you want to be successful, you want to know what it is that you're doing wrong so that you can change it and improve it for the next one.
absolutely. That's what I learned about, like in the Double Down with JT Fox. Like JT Fox event, that's what he said. Like the first time I was starting out, that's when when it came to like capital raising, I asked the person like, what was why did you not do deal with me? And that's when like eventually I got the answer. So just to make sure, to ask them, hey, you know what? I understand. Thank you for sharing that, but just for myself to become better in the future for someone else, help me out what I did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in our day to day life, we don't ask that kind of questions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I also just wanted to bring it back to a couple of the other things that you said that I think were very important. That with the mentor, actually, what kind of tips would you give to the viewers that are looking for a mentor? Being that it's in a brokerage, that we're talking about is brokerage, but even I know there's some general ones too. From how you've experienced things so far, if you're having to pick a brokerage, and like you said, you're probably picking someone that you're going to be wanting to follow, which one of your tips was seeing how they behave, and it's something that you look up to, then obviously it's going to be something you follow. But do you have any other tips for the viewers to decide how like what they can do to find something that's good for them?
How to find mentors?
Yeah.
Yes,
Or like that, because you
absolutely.
technically are having to find that, aren't you? With getting into brokerage, usually you're finding someone that will support you, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yes, that's a great question. I would say that the industry that where you commit yourself towards exploring that, you want to find like who are there. It always starts with who are the idols. Idols who are the one who put that benchmark right there, who put that milestones and accomplished themselves and created a lot of contribution for other people. So you want to find those kind of people who have achieved success in that field and learn what they think, what they do, right? Because you gotta keep your idols at their highest standards, right? Because let's say with me in real estate investing, I would say that it would be Grant Cardone, right? Because hey, you can say whatever you want. The guy did very well for not only just for himself but for his investors, right? That's what something that we got to look up to. That let's say if we are looking at leadership or anything, that's where we be like Tony Robbins, right? Like it all depends on who accomplished that mark, and then we got to find out like who are the industry people who are in that pursuit, who are in the pursuit and are more successful than you, because success duplicates, emulates.
Mm-hmm. And that's basically what you're saying, like-minded. So maybe let's say Grant Cardone won't be your mentor or in to a certain
Yeah,
level because you are obviously watching it. But then you're probably going to look for people that behave very similar or have those characteristics that you've seen in Grant Cardone, or probably even take their courses or whatever,
yeah,
because they're following the steps that you would like to follow. And you're getting a closer degree to what you need, because obviously a Grant Cardone may be a little too intense because you're trying to get into a
exactly.
brokerage and you're trying to develop the business. But then someone that follows those similar values is obviously you start learning from these higher level people. You start learning what are their values, what makes them tick, and then you start noticing, okay, who around me or who can I find that has those similar values that I can actually, get that support from. It sounds
Yeah.
like.
So, as I said, like he's the idol, right? For me, like he's the idol because he has achieved and put the benchmark out there. But there are so
Mhm.
many people in the pursuit who are in the pursuit of like entrepreneurship and creating the value, but they have achieved success. Like let's say, I would start with Niran Kolathingam. He has done great for himself, being an great example of being an immigrant, and now like in the course of like more than 20 years, he has been like uh, leadership uh, principal, ascension principal. He has been the founder. Apart from that, he's into capital raising, real estate investors. So many hats that they are wearing, right? So it's just that when the people who have achieved that success, then you want to buy their time. But to learn from them, you buy their time by like buying their courses.
Mhm.
Because hey, people can say left, right, or center that buying courses is crazy. Don't buy this, that. But me, I'm a great example of like who like invests in himself. Like I'm not trying to brag about it, but it's just like a humble pursuit that I believe that the more skills that we learn is the more we become, because eventually we have to build the systems in place around that. And but it just gives you that what skills, how, and why you want to learn that skills. Because
Mhm.
when doing this was something that I learned that when connecting with everyone, I found out that people who are and who have accomplished a lot for themselves, they had more number of skills. Like I'm talking about
Mhm.
people who are like passive investors.
Mhm.
Because they have like just like yourself, you're a passive investor as well, right? Like look at
Yeah.
yourself. How many courses have you bought in your life, right? Because it
Mhm.
just helps you achieve your success. And it's just that once we get to know those skills is when we can build the systems around that, right? Because systems in place can get things rolling. And that's what I learned that some of the high income level skills earner that who do like seven figures, eight figures. Like as I said in one of my reels, that one of the lady who achieved success of like doing roll ups of cannabis industry, and she did pretty good, like in eight figure
Mhm.
profit generation, right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
it's
You never, like, people don't realize how important courses are, or even how important mentors are, because it's just the impact of coaches, mentors, and knowledge is you don't realize. So, yeah, people don't realize the impact of these things. That's really
right.
funny. You are a tribute to it, because I remember once we were talking, and I think you bought like five courses or something at the same time or something, and I was like, my God, this guy is just going to like learn about everything.
Yes, it just the thing is that right now I do get towards like having that time freedom, which I can put my time towards like studying more, right? And that's when I learned about the certain skill sets because I asked those investors that, hey, man, let me tell you, because I want to become like you, but tell me about it. What was your journey like? What made you
Mhm.
like become this successful? And the skills that he mentioned about that, hey, you know what? Have you ever heard about this mergers and acquisitions? Because that's how like we roll towards forming a bigger group of companies, and then we sell it to the higher group of companies to have like higher roll-ups for our as a profits. Wow. Being a merger and acquisition advisor as well, that is also like what people have learned towards like having those bigger paydays, right? But it's just that how we acquire real estate, it's also the process of like how we acquire business, right? Because acquiring multifamily asset, just how we do the process about like building a power team, calling the brokerage, doing all those requirements is what the same thing, but it's just like the essence of the process are very different than how it plays out, right? So that is what like I was being told by a few of the passive investors, and that's when it got me thinking that hey, you know what? I've been let me just get towards like learning those skills as well, because hey, as being an people who do like real estate investors just like yourself, and you do like an being in GPLP structure, when you being a general partner, you try to find like limited partners who want to invest, right? That's when you would be like, okay, you want to seek out that who are actually ready and have that money sitting on the side, that they are looking to invest but only to right places, and show them that why this investment is the right place, and would like to get their guidance that what are their thought process or how we can make this deal a right deal, right? So that's what it all depends on how what our intentions are, right? Because intentions when are strong and proper is when those commitments follow, not only just from other people but from yourself as well, right?
100%. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And so
And
what would you say then now from going from like you learned what you learned from the brokerage and now going into this newer brokerage, what would you say are what were the reasons or what were your learning that made you now go into like picking this specific brokerage, the new brokerage that you're in?
okay, that's a great question. I'm not gonna say any negative about the previous brokerage, but it's just that the new brokerage that I was gonna be a part of, they have systems in place. They have marketing systems in place. They have some proper CRM being provided. They have a proper portal. They have a proper learning portal as well. And that's where like, and the thing is,
To me,
they're broke.
brokerage, you're having to probably pay more than with the
Oh yeah.
other brokerage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I
Absolutely.
think that's
Absolutely.
something also pivotal that I think a lot of people, especially when you're starting to get into something, you think like, let me just pay the cheapest. I mean, I'm not saying that you said this, but generally, in anything that we do, we're always like, let's pay the cheapest because maybe money is tight, whatever the reasons, we just don't want to pay it. And then that really evaluating like you're paying this amount of money, what are you getting for it? You're paying this amount of money, what are you getting for it? Because like you said, if it's the cheapest places, and again, if you're new at being a mortgage broker or a realtor, you probably want those systems in place, but you just want someone to tell you how to do it because you're new. So like just tell me the process. Once I become more experienced, then maybe I may have my own processes or things in place. But right now it's like have those people, or even I know with, I'm sure brokerages, I know yeah, they both do it where I think you said this too, right? Like at the top, you'll get actual information on, what's going on with the economy and things like that. So even those kind of things, it's like, is someone telling you what's going on that kind of helps you move forward, or do you have to be the one always investigating everything? So there's lots of probably little things that I think, like you said, is important to take into consideration when making those types of decisions on which brokerage to go.
Yes, that's a great question. Now, what I learned is that the higher we pay, because it's more system, it's all about the value that we transact, right? Because when we buy something, because it's all credit-based economy over here, right? What we buy, we want to perceive what value are we getting. When there is no value, you won't find like lots of sales happening or like lots of transactions happening, because the regression that follows, that flows around people, that okay, There's not a, so what I would say that when changing to a newer brokerage, it had not only just systems in place, it had a proper leadership. When it came to like any industry updates and all that we do receive, apart from that, if we have questions, and yes, we have supports in place. And as well as before, when we had like 1 day of training in a week, now we have like actually 2 days, or maybe like sometimes it's 3 days. So at least when that's when we get to be around our mentors as well as other team members. And so with the industry updates, we get like so many other mortgage lenders who come up and show us what they are offering. And that's where like the game changes, right? When you have like more training being accessed, that's when you can get towards becoming more proficient in your own field, right? And it just gives us about what vision that we can carry, because that's when our mind gets programmed that, okay, I have access to these kind of lenders. These real estate investors have these problems. For them, the A lender is not going to work. The B lender over here is going to work, just because they can get towards providing, more value, more savings, making sure that their portfolio is optimized. They are able to save money, or eventually like get savings on their interest payments, right?
I love that. This is so important. It's great that you're bringing it up, because a lot of us, when we're beginning anything, doesn't matter if it's being becoming a mortgage agent, because this happens in the real estate investing world too, where sometimes we get so fixated on the money, and it's like, stop that, and it's like, what is the value that you're getting? Because that is really what should be, and you will figure out the money. I feel like the money situation gets figured out if you understand the value that you get for being receiving coaching, even like that. Like I see it a lot of times. Investors, they go cheap on the contractors, and it's like, we can do that. We can keep labor, but the thing is, we have this experience to be able to manage that cheap labor. But if you're a newbie, you don't want to manage everything yourself, because you don't know the processes. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're in a mode of, I need someone to guide me, because it's going to happen so much more quicker. Like, you're just going to do one of these with a proper system in place. Whereas if you do it on your own, you're just like almost dragging your feet, like, why is this so hard? And that can also, for some people, like, at least for me, you pivoted and changed and moved forward. For other people, that could have just been detrimental to them. They would have been like, it's too hard to be a mortgage broker. Like, I can't do this, because they don't know that there's something better out there.
Well, that's absolutely true, because here's the thing. My thinking was the same. I was thinking that, hey, you know what? I don't want to pay $150 per month for like subscription, like for monthly like desk fees and all. And that's when I went towards like something which was at 1/3 of the price, right, of the desk fees. But that's when I got the value accordingly.
Exactly.
So, when it comes to like when you're exploring, because when you're exploring your potential, you want to make sure that if you have to pay the price, pay the price. Because that price comes with a different value, different set of values, right? Because that the value that is what you're going to perceive for what you're going to transact, but at least you get that.
Yeah.
For paying the higher price. For paying that higher price, right? Because let me tell you, if you did not pay for that value, you won't get access to different lenders who are in the play, who would be able to have that contribution towards your client's success. This is what I've learned, that it's not about like asking somebody that, hey, I'm trying to find clients. And I was like, okay. When I went towards somebody who was like an investor, and I mentioned that, hey, you know what? I'm a mortgage agent, but let me know if I can be of any contribution towards your success. I would like to see like how I can contribute towards your success. And I was like, damn, dude, that is so buttery. Like that is so smooth. Like people are always looking out for like how can I get your business? But at least like you talked about the contribution towards my success. And nobody talks, not that many, only rare people say that. So that is when you walk in with that intention, it's that's when you would be able to find that, hey, you know what? Yeah, help me out. Because guess what, Diana? Banks last 4 years. Take a guess how much was the revenue the banks generated. Take a guess. Give me a number.
No.
164 billion in last 4 years.
Wow.
Because when you know how the banks work, that's when it just proves your mind that wow, it is because when somebody gives you money, when you use that, you pay taxes. Eventually, when you make that money, you make taxes. It's like in every way you're paying taxes, but at the end of the day, when you put that money into the bank, if the government decides, hey, you know what, now let's just print more, guess what? The savings gets depleted. And that's when eventually when we see people have that stigma that, hey, you know what? I don't want to invest in real estate. It's it's so expensive. And that's when I always mention that, guys, here's the thing. Your interest rate is dependent on how much is the mortgage balance. It's not about like how much it and it all starts with what is the purchase price you're putting in that property. So when your purchase price is not being congruent, you have to change your investment strategies. Think about becoming investors, because when you buy the first house, you become an investor because you decided to invest in the Canadian economy. And that's how you got to think that if you want to buy, you want to buy it low, try to go to the wholesalers. And that's when like one of the greatest creations that we came up, like I was recently at the AI real estate event, and which happened like a month ago, and there's a platform that like wholesalers can post their deals, right? And it's an AI realesta.ai. That's the gentleman, Mr. Vishwalia. He came up with putting out a proper portal that could help investors find out what are the best properties that they can invest in, and that too at the wholesaler's price, right? And because at the wholesaler price, it's people say that hey, with the wholesaler you get to get like a good commission that you can play out of that. Well, that's not a good commission if you're thinking with that intent, because if the property value that you are putting that contract under is not at a 60 or 65 cents on a dollar, then please do not do the deal for your own sake, because as real estate investors that they would like to buy, they don't just want to buy some bricks and sticks and stones and dirt. They want to buy in some sweat equity, and that's when the price goes with that. So only if in case with the 65 or 60 cents on a dollar, you can propose that price, you have some money sitting around for some renovation, and then a lot of money sitting on the equity side. That's when you tie around some of the wholesale fees. That's how the actual wholesale deals are done. And that's how you create value for sellers who are looking to sell it right away, for buyers, for real estate investor. And then eventually our thing comes last because of setting up structuring the whole deal, right? So that's what like I try to like educate some of the first time home buyers, right? But so many programs now coming towards it, Diana, that especially mortgage lenders are now becoming very, creative.
Very creative. Yeah.
Yes, because as I wanted to share, is that there are many lenders who are coming out with, compound interest, right? That everyone pays. How would it feel that you get to pay simple interest?
Mm-hmm. I remember you were telling me that. I was shocked. I was like, what?
Oh yeah,
Why are they doing it? Well,
that's
because I feel like private lenders, we do it, but if institutions are starting to do it, it makes you question what's happening, right? What's changing that they're going to simple interest? It is very interesting to see these things happening.
absolutely, because what is the scenario is that banks had like so much. Banks are not in the business of like money. They are in the business of acquiring titles. When they are in the business of acquiring titles, the B lenders, they started getting towards like thinking very creative that, hey, you know what? The Gen Zs were going to come in the marketplace. They always going to think that, hey, there's no place or there's no way that we can get into the marketplace. And then baby boomers who were like already retired and about to be, they are the wealthy now. And people who are in the process of like building the wealth right now, they feel that the LTV does not get lower at the fastest sense, because it's all about like how faster you want to pay off your mortgage. Because when you buy a house, you want to pay it off, you want to give it out to your kids, and that's how you don't want to give away the 100-year-old property but it's paid off and everything. But then eventually, when you would have to, if you have to rebuild and everything, then yeah, that's where the value becomes like that. The problem becomes like that. But at least in a shorter time frame of like before the amortization, if you are able to pay down towards your mortgage, that's what's going to help you like have that positive cash flow, as well as having that wealth parked somewhere that you can use that equity into buying some more. Because everyone is now transitioning. People who are like having like 6 properties, they are transitioning towards multifamily, right? So yeah, more, as I said, the lenders were coming up with simple interest, right? There are other lenders who are getting towards like 90% rental offset that they will count towards your income, like 90%. That's, and if it's owner occupied, people who are doing like house hacking, right?
Yeah.
Like they live in one unit and they send out the rest. That's where like the 90% offset is calculated on that.
Mhm.
And yeah, with the lenders who also have like no cap on how many properties you have, right? If it's in a corporation, then yes, you can get towards like more than like 7 to 8 properties per title,
Mhm.
like in that corporation
In
per
the
person. That
corporation. Yeah.
so
It is
that's what like
very interesting to see, and I think this is like basically giving people hope, because there's a lot of, I even heard a few of my friends that are a bit younger, they tell me, oh, you're lucky, you have property, I could never have properties. And it's kind of see how inflation happens. Like back in the day, I think it was probably maybe 50, 60, 8 years ago. You had to actually, no, maybe longer, maybe let's say at least 100 years ago. You had to, you actually had to put like 50% down down payment to a house. And imagine in those times, it was very hard for people. So a lot of people didn't actually use very many banks because of that. Banks were more on the commercial side than they were on the residential side because they didn't have that trust in people paying off mortgages and stuff. So you only had 50% mortgages. And I feel like now you think back then, or at least let's say before COVID, you think back then, people would be like, "Oh my God, how do you save up for a 50% more, a 50% down payment?" And they was just like, "Okay, we'll give you 20%." And this is just goes to show you that there's going to always be a way to be able to buy properties. I think people should never get discouraged. There is obviously like that we're in a transition period where it's like we're trying to figure out how to make it easy again for people to, or not easy, but like plausible that you can buy a property, and it is. And the creativity, it is very interesting to see the creativity happening. I think we're still in an evolutionary phase where there's still more creativity that's going to have to come out of it. And then you're going to see things settle, and then we're going to have this new way of buying houses where people can buy it, the people who want to, and it's keeping your mind open that you will be able to buy. Because it's generally, if you say no, you're never gonna go. Even that happened to me before buying my first property. I was always told, "Yeah, you can't buy a property. You don't make enough income. You don't do this. You don't do that. You have to have it with like your partner. Um, you have to buy a house with two incomes." My very first property I ended up buying it was my own income. And I ended up finding out that I could have bought two houses with my income. And I was always told that I couldn't do this. So it's like when people are saying no, 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 you got to go to those people that say, yes, you can, let's figure it out. Because you believe them, especially when they're trustworthy people that you see their future. But you have to remember that those people bought houses many years ago and things have changed now. And so you got to go to the people that are buying houses right now and understand how are they doing it and how is it going to work for you. What are your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. Because you got to go out with people who have achieved that and who have that done at different situations when the conditions are very against them, but they still did that. They still took that step. They still took the bet on themselves. It only happens when you are in the proximity of people who would say that yes, man, you can do it. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about like how and what strategies that you're looking to apply. Just like recently I was at the 10x stages, and I I experienced the importance of the power of signature talk. When you have that signature talk in place, then how you can help masses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it just helped me to amplify that. Yes, if you know that you can help, and that's when like it's your prime duty. Sharing your message is absolutely your duty. Not sharing it, it becomes a disservice to your clients.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Completely agree. Because like that, we all have, especially our own different lives. So something that worked for me could maybe never work for you because you just have a completely different lifestyle, different things that have happened in your life. But then, for example, you may meet someone that has something similar to you and be like, oh, this tip could help you, that tip. Or I'm sure like you've learned some things from me because obviously there are always things that can interlace between us. I've learned some things from you. We're always learning little things from each other, and it's like that ability to be open and share, right? Because like you said, when you don't share, it's stopping people from being able to also be successful with you. And then also, to be honest, I feel like the one thing I personally love about sharing is that it helps me reinforce what I have actually learned. especially when people question. I love when people question it because their eyes will see it in a different light than I would see it. With my experiences, I've dealt with it in one perspective, but then they may be dealing it in a different perspective. So that tip would work, but they need to understand how it works for them. And so even when they question it, I personally like it because it makes me think, okay, how would that work for them in their different views in their eyes? So even in the
Absolutely.
exchange of information, you yourself are still learning, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. Because we never know that whose mindset is going to impact us, or whose mindset that we would be able to help impact on theirs, like changing their mindset, right? Because it's
Mhm.
all about like the how the conversations proceed is when we get to know that what changes or what impact that the other person has on us, right?
Mhm.
And that's just how it amplifies our purpose, our intentions behind it, right? Because hey, like this is when I started that you know what, I'm gonna get full-fledged towards sharing my message. Does not matter if I have to pay ads for it, just because I want to see that how many people I can impact, because I would not know the only karma that I can do is just keep on doing the efforts, not with the intention of like having those fruits, right? It's
Mhm.
all about me. I would have to do what I can do and what I can contribute. It all depends on like if that message is going to reach that person whose life could be impacted, right? So that's when like it all depends on our intent, and especially like going out there and making that work of sharing your messages as many different platforms. Like right now, you're giving me an opportunity that, hey, you know what, Jaydeep, I would like to give you my digital stage and would like to know what you have been doing, right? So with that, it gives me an opportunity to share my message, and on my medium, I can like on it will give us to an opportunity to share each other's message on each other's platform, right?
Mhm.
So that's what this is considered like one of the digital stages, right? Because I'm on your digital stage, OPS digital, other people's digital stage, right? So it's all about like how much impact that have we created on OPS, OWN, digital, physical, right? So
Mhm.
there are so many aspects and so many things that we all need to do to like have our messages reach out to so many people, right?
Mhm. Mhm. I love it. Jay, thank you so much for coming on. Did you want to say, before we end this, any final comments that you wanted to share before we leave?
Yes, and I would like your help with that, because coming next week, I'm gonna get towards like putting a Zoom call for especially like first time homebuyers or real estate investors, and sharing that what programs or what mortgage products that I have that to help you optimize your portfolio and be able to contribute towards their success. I
I
just
love
want to see if I can get the opportunity, and seeing that if I'm able to contribute and if we could be a good fit, and like if I'm able to help or not. And that's where like eventually like it's definitely for the first time home buyers, like you know, like we all have like people who are looking up that if we can get the first time home buyers or real estate investors. And that's why like I'm going to start my own Zoom calls, and that to help people. And it's on my link, like Calendly link, that if people want to like book a session with me, they can definitely go on my profile and book a session, that I can see that how I can contribute towards their mortgage business, like towards their properties, or
it.
help them become a real estate investor.
Awesome. JD, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys love what you heard from JD, definitely follow him on anything. If you want to learn more, you can DM him or go into his calendar to book an appointment. And if you guys love what you heard from me, same thing, follow me. We're both on REFAM. So if you want to go to REI FAM and learn more about it, we have our profiles on there too. And JD, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana, for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye, JD. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Diana. Bye, everyone.